Erev Tov, everyone. Parsha Bo, the Torah begins to instruct us with mitzvot. Rashi points out that if we consider the Torah to be only a book of laws, then this would be the first parsha. So we have the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh, HaChodesh Hazeh Lochem, the mitzvah of the calendar, and then we have the renewal of the mitzvah of Avraham Avinu, of Milah, Kol Orei Lo Yochal Bo, that for the Korban Pesach, they all had to be circumcised. And then we have the mitzvah that the Torah tells us that they put the blood on the mezuzot and on the mashkov of the house so that the mashchis, the angel that destroyed the Bechorot, would not enter the Jewish home. So Rashi points out what is this story with the blood on the mashkov? Which was a mitzvah only by Pesach Mitzrayim. It's not a mitzvah later. And the question arises simply, the Rabbanu Shalom in the previous Makot, so it says, V'hiflo Hashem, the Lord was able to separate. So for instance, the Orov didn't go on the Jews, it went only on the Egyptians. The Choshech only went on the Egyptians without any outward signs, without having to make any adjustment, so to speak. And here, by Bechorot, the Torah tells us that the Jews had to mark their homes. It was undoubtedly possible that the Jews were not required to do so because the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Malach, would know the difference anyway. And we find that the Medrash says that if an Egyptian was hiding in the house of a Jew, and he was a Bechor, so then he died. And if a Jew was in the house of an Egyptian, so the Jew lived, so there was that difference anyway. So Rashi, though he doesn't raise the question directly, Rashi answers that all of this is only in order to get the Jewish people into the mindset of doing mitzvot. That they should understand, the idea here is obvious, they're going out into freedom. So what's freedom? So freedom means I have no obligations whatsoever. I can do whatever I want. So that certainly was not the Jewish definition of freedom. And we'll see later in the Chumash, Avodah, that the Jewish people went from one type of servitude to another type of servitude. They went from being slaves to Paro, so now we're servants to the Rebbeinu Shalom. but absolute, unfettered freedom never is part of Jewish life. And we find that the comment in Tanakh is Kol isha yosher be'einav ya'aseh. Everybody did what they wanted to do. That's a churban. And that's really a basic issue that our society faces today. Are there any limitations? No, everything is, whatever it is. And you have to accept me for whatever I do. And there's no accountability. And there's no absolute standard of right or wrong. So Rashi says that in order to begin the education of the Jewish people, that they're going to be Avdei Hashem. So therefore, these mitzvahs were introduced. And the mitzvah of the blood on the doorposts was, again, in order to acquaint them with this concept that there are tzivuyim, there are commandments that they have to fulfill. Another problem that's raised regarding this is that the blood, it says, V'hoya lochem la'os alabatim. It'll be a sign for you. So the Gemara darshans that the blood was on the inside of the door, not on the outside. Now, if we say the purpose of the blood was to prevent the Malach HaMashchis from entering the home, then we should have put the blood on the outside that he could see, so that we would know what it was. And yet the halacha was that the blood was on the inside. But so yalachem was. So again, that is in the same idea that the whole purpose of the mitzvah is not for the malach. The malach can sort out who is Jewish and who is non-Jewish. The purpose of the mitzvah was for you, for what you do, to educate you. Now the Meforshim discuss what's the story with the blood. What is that symbol? So there are many, this is a fertile field for rabbinic sermons. But there's one idea that is brought later Svarim. Then on Shabbos Chol HaMoed Pesach, we read the story of the Navi Yechezkel reviving the dry bones, the dead. According to the Medrash, that was Shevet Ephraim that went out early. It was 30,000 people. They died in the desert, and Yechezkel revived. The Navi Yechezkel says also the famous pasuk that we use in the Haggadah, "Whoever alayich, I pass over you, v'arech, misposesed b'damayich." And I see that you are engulfed in your blood. Yom aloch b'damayich chayi, b'damayich chayi. So the Gemara darshans b'damayich chayi, b'damayich chayi is Dam Mila and Dam Pesach. So I think this is Kli Yakar says it, The concept of the blood is always sacrifice. It's always the symbol of the fact that one is willing to undergo deprivation, even pain and suffering, in order to achieve something. And we know that in life, no pain, no gain. It's a simple rule. So therefore, the Jewish people are going to go out, and they're going out with Nisim. The problem with Nisim is that a person who is accustomed to Nisim, after a period of time, feels that he doesn't have to do anything. The nest is going to occur. Because I'll say, Mulumad b'Nisim. You're accustomed to Nisim. You're accustomed to Nisim, so, let's sit back and let the nest happen. So to speak, the nest counteracts any proactive behavior on the part of Klal Yisrael. Let the nest happen. So we see that, people in their piety say, God will help. It's such a, most of the time, that's only a cop-out for when I heard that from the Ponevezher Rav, that we once went to a very wealthy man, and he asked him for a sizable donation, and the man wavered, and he told the Rav, he said, I know you have problems now, but Rebbe, don't worry, the Eibishter will help. So the Rav told him, that's my speech, not your speech. I tell people the Eibishter will help. You write the check. So if you're Melumad b'Nisim, you're accustomed to that. So you feel you don't have to do anything. So really, they could have gone out with from Egypt without having to do it, without a Korban Pesach, without Milah, without a Chodesh Hazeh Lachem, because the Rebbeinu Shalom had told Avraham Avinu that that's what would happen. But that's not the chinuch. That's not how you educate the people to become the Jewish people. To become the Jewish people is you have to be proactive. There are demands that are placed upon you. You have to do something. And so this dam, the blood, which is always the symbol of sacrifice, the blood was the symbol. From now on, if you want to be a servant of the Rebbeinu Shalom, there are demands that are placed upon you. And that's what the Gemara means, chorus ala luchos, al tikra chorus ala cherus. That's our definition of freedom. Our definition of being able to do what we want to do is that we do it within the constraints and spirit that the Torah has commanded us. And that even though we have freedom of choice, and we think at least we have freedom of action, the truth of the matter is that we are in this constraint. And to the extent that therefore we are proactive in it, we are willing to subject ourselves to the will of heaven, to that extent, then we are free. And to that extent, therefore, we are also successful. So that's the idea that's involved here. And that's why it says, Lachem, the sign is for you, because you have to internalize that. And we'll see that throughout the 40 years in the desert, That really is the struggle of Moshe Rabbeinu with Klal Yisrael, to get them to that level so that they truly can be free people, but a people that are servants of the Ribono Shel Olam, Avod Hayim. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashya, Omer Rotza HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakas Yisrael, V'chachir B'lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar, Adonai Chavetz Aman Tzidko Yavil Torah V'Yadir.